Thanksgiving week, but as we like to call it here, Iron Bowl week, one of the most exciting weeks of the year, obviously, for many of us across the state of Alabama, as we're all looking forward to Auburn hosting the Crimson Tide in Jordan-Hare coming up Saturday night at 6:30 there on ABC. So we appreciate you tuning in each and every morning, making us a part of your day right here on JOX. Make sure if you are out and about this morning that you are staying safe and stay weather aware out there, because it's getting a little nasty out there with all of the storms going on. So make sure that you are taking care of yourself and all the necessary precautions when you are getting out and about today. So we're going to start off, as we will each and every day this week, except Thursday, because we'll be off enjoying the Thanksgiving holidays. But we're going to start each and every day this week that we are here talking about the Iron Bowl, because what else would we have to talk about this week besides all the other fantastic rivalry games that are going on across college football? If you really look at it and you kind of go, man, does this game have playoff implications? Does it not? Like, what does it really matter? There's probably about 24 games this weekend in college football that are going to be pretty big time. So the Iron Bowl is certainly one of them. And so I just wanted to, a little fun fact. So yesterday I told you that out of the 30 times that Alabama and Auburn have played where Alabama has been ranked and Auburn has not, Alabama has a 29-1 record in those games. That's pretty good. So for today's fun stat of the day, I went and looked at November the 29th, because that is the date that will be the Iron Bowl this year on Saturday. It'll be November 29th. And there's actually, this will be the 10th time the Iron Bowl has been played on that date. Do you have any guesses of what the record is for Auburn?
For Auburn?
In those 10 games, yeah.
I'm going to say...
Or it's 9, sorry.
10.
It'll be 10 on Saturday.
I'm going to say 5-4.
3-6.
3-6. Okay.
For Auburn. So Alabama 6-3, Auburn 3-6. And Iron Bowl is played on November the 29th. Just, it doesn't mean anything, but
yeah, I feel like you're the Alabama program for the Iron Bowl. All these different stats.
I just went and looked up the date, and that's what.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah, there's a chance. Just like with the fun stat that we shared yesterday.
Yeah.
There's always a chance. Yeah, I was about to say, that's all you need is one. That's all you need is one. But we did get to hear yesterday from both Kalen DeBoer and DJ Durkin, as they, of course, had their weekly press conferences, except this week they're talking about each other. And really not – I mean, I guess it's not a surprise that there wasn't any, major takeaways or major news or anything, because – based on who both of those teams played over the weekend. No offense to Mercer and Eastern Illinois, but you went out there, you handled business. Nobody really got banged up. That's what you were looking for,
yep.
Right? There wasn't a whole lot to take away from that one. But on the Auburn front, at least, a couple of takeaways of little ones from Durkin. He was asked about Deuce Knight and if he would be, somebody that was factored into the game plan for the Iron Bowl, and he kind of had a tongue-in-cheek answer like, oh,
it's a great plan.
I think that's a good idea. I'll take that back up into the meeting room. So I definitely think it's safe to say you'll see Deuce Knight in some form or fashion on Saturday, because how could you not after what you saw on Saturday, especially with him in the running game. And then Auburn on the injury front, really, really good shape there. He was talking about Keldrick Falk, who had been banged up, but he's good to go for Saturday. And, again, outside of any – outstanding injuries that, have been going on for a while, and guys that have already been out, for Auburn, they're in really, really good shape heading into the Iron Bowl. So that's certainly what you like to see there on that front. On the other side for Alabama, a big injury potentially for them is Josh Cuevas. He was out this past week against Eastern Illinois. He got hurt at practice, and seems a little uncertain about if he'll be able to go on Saturday. Obviously, it's the Iron Bowl. The entire season's on the line, so you would expect any of these guys that can go will go, but certainly something to keep an eye on there for the Alabama side of things, at least with Cuevas and his status a little bit up in the air. It does look like Brailsford, because I know Brailsford and Jeremy, they didn't play on Saturday, but it looks like they're going to be good to go for the Iron Bowl, so that's certainly nice for Alabama. Some of the good news is Quay Russaw, you saw him on the field a little bit against Eastern Illinois as well, so he should be even more prepared to go in the Iron Bowl, and we'll see what kind of an impact he can have there on the defensive side of the ball. So that's kind of the big takeaways there for Alabama and Auburn. Auburn in really good shape injury-wise. Alabama not too banged up, but Cuevas really kind of the big one there that we'll have to wait and see on as the week progresses. There was an interesting side note as well, though, because you get to hear from the coordinators. And so Kane Womack yesterday, he was talking with the media, and he kind of took the approach that you've seen a lot of coaches take, but he was asked about his name being thrown around in some coaching rumor discussions, and he's just not going to appreciate the question, not going to answer that right now, so take that for what you will. But if you missed the report over the weekend, Kane Womack has been, I guess, listed as one of 4 candidates that are, I guess, at the top of the board, you would say, for Arkansas.
Yep.
So, and yes, I've already seen all the jokes of people saying, so the guy that might want to hire the Alabama defensive coordinator is the same guy that, wants to keep him out of the playoff, or, isn't giving them enough credit in the playoff discussion, things like that. So
yeah, and I will say this. We've seen Kane Womack. He was the head coach of South Alabama for a period of time. He's a defensive guy. And Arkansas's biggest problem, at least this past season,
no doubt,
was definitely the defensive side. The offense is doing everything they're supposed to. But it also, to me, and I guess it's because we've seen him the past couple games, do you kind of put the retread back on Bobby P? I mean, he's right there.
He hasn't won a game.
It ain't the offense's fault. He's an offensive guy. He unlocked Taylor Green, but defensively, when you're giving up 75.
I guess
has enough time passed.
No, it shouldn't have.
I'm with you there. But the fact that he's even in this position again, back at the old school.
I mean, they knew what they were setting it up for.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to say that they don't have any fault in that. They knew what, I think that we all knew this was a contingency plan if things didn't work out with Sam Pittman. But
had they won a couple games, I think he would be a realistic.
Absolutely.
He'd be a realistic candidate.
I guess I'm going to make up a new rule here, but in my opinion, if you are an interim head coach vying to become the full-time head coach, you need to win at least one game in the interim.
Okay.
I feel like if you don't win anything, why the hell would I go and hire?
So DJ Durkin is good even with just the Mercer win, no matter who the competition is.
Yeah, you won a game, didn't you?
Yeah.
Bobby P's also had a few more opportunities to get a win than DJ Durkin
That
has.
is true.
I guess I just look at it as
no, but I get your point though. Like
he hasn't won a game. You've got all the baggage from before. Like it just
right. It just sets up for disaster.
Well, when has something like this ever worked?
I don't think they've ever done it.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I think this may be the first time that we're.
It's
uncharted territory.
I just feel like there's so many more options you would go to before.
True.
Like Bobby Petrino would be like my 12th fallback plan. Like if everybody else said no, then sure. But it just feels like there's a lot of steps you go to avoiding that. But I mean, I guess they opened the door to it in the first place, right? Because otherwise you would have never allowed him to come back as the offensive coordinator. Now, if he wants to stay on his OC, I think you would. Again, it's like the Auburn situation there. I think if you could manage that and his ego would allow him to stay on as an OC, I think that would be great. But we'll see. We'll see about the whole Kane Womack thing. And, again.
Arkansas is an interesting job too, man, because
it is.
It's like they'll give you time to be average to above average, at least consistently. If you can sprinkle a 10 win in there, that's cherry on top.
I've seen. I'm so ready for that one to be done because it feels like at least like LSU and Florida, we know what they like. They want Lane Kiffin,
right?
And then one of them's not going to get him. Maybe both of them don't get him, and then they're going to scramble. Auburn, I mean, I feel like we're about 99% sure it's John Summerall, right? And hoping that will be announced within the next week. But we feel pretty good about that one. All right, Penn State, like, okay, I'm not buying into the DeBoer stuff, but like, okay, there's still some uncertainty. It's just like Arkansas. I've heard 20 different names for who they're going to hire, and they were all in on James Franklin allegedly, and then that didn't work out. And then it's like you just got clearly people throwing stuff out there, like, is Dabo going to get the Arkansas? No, Dabo's not.
No,
going to Arkansas.
I don't think that. I don't think that's going to work.
I feel like the Arkansas one is all over the place, but hey, maybe that's what they wanted. Maybe
we're talking
they're
about
smoke screens,
right?
Yeah, they're trying to throw people off the scent of who they're actually going after. I don't know.
Ryan Silverfield,
maybe so, maybe so. That was one of the names that was mentioned over the weekend. So he's certainly in the conversation there. But speaking of Arkansas and Hunter Yurchek, their fine athletics director, He will be on your television screens tonight again, unfortunately, as he will have to maybe actually answer questions this week. Maybe he'll actually have some answers prepared. But we will have the next round of the college football playoff rankings. And again, I don't think there's going to be too much drama in the bracket portion of it, right? Tulane won. They're going to be the group of 5 team, you would imagine. I don't think Alabama's going to magically get bumped up over Notre Dame. Maybe Oregon moves up a spot or something and flip flops with somebody because of their win over USC. But other than that, I would think everything's going to stay just about the same. And I will say this, right? We've seen in years past a playoff committee make some drastic changes, not necessarily after this week or like going into rivalry week, but immediately following it, and then of course following the conference championship game. So it should be interesting the next couple of times, but I think tonight's going to be pretty pat and pretty standard of what we got last week. But we did get some news yesterday that I know everyone's going to love to hear this. But ESPN in the college football playoff, they are working on an extension because they cannot agree on what the new playoff format will be for next year. So that deadline was coming up quickly. It was December 1st, so next week. And they have voted to extend that to at least the end of January. So now they have a couple more months to figure out what the playoff's going to look like for next year. And like everyone else, I have zero confidence that they will get this figured out by January. And we will be, I mean, at this point, it feels like we might just have a 12-team playoff next year because they can't figure this. It's just crazy that you had all the, okay, well, so you need to go to 9 conference games. You need to go 9. This needs to happen. That needs to happen. And all the things happen. And now the Big Ten is still like, well, actually,
How about
what about
24?
this idea?
What
for a
about
play?
24?
It's like, come on, man. It's embarrassing that we can't get this thing figured out. And now we have more time to not have any answers. So that's
just extend it.
So that's going to be fun. But yes, so you'll have the college football playoff rankings tonight. That will be getting underway. And if anything big happens, of course, we will break it down for you here tomorrow on Morning JOX. But last night was actually a great night for sports. If you watch football, you had Monday Night Football going on. You had some college basketball going on. A ton to get into there as we roll along on the Tuesday, a rainy Tuesday edition of Morning JOX right here on JOX. Welcome back into Morning Jocks here on your Tuesday. Conrad and Damien here with you until 7 o'clock. We will then hand you off to McElroy and Kublik in the morning as they will continue the Iron Bowl discussion from 7 to 10. And then from 10 to 2, three-man front, we're going to be out at Social Taco today. Myself, Pat Smith, Landrum Roberts going to be out there having a good time. I expect it to get maybe a little chippy out there, right? It's Iron Bowl week. We have a lot of big-time Auburn fans, really, that come up there to Social Taco each and every Tuesday. So it'll always be always a good time up there.
Are you nervous?
Some spirited debate about what?
Just Iron Bowl week. You know how they? Oh, okay. You know how Auburn fans get? They get a little rowdy, man.
I know.
Just make sure you keep your calm. You're
I'm
not worried.
not going to be out there on the field playing, Damien. I don't control the outcome of the game. I
got you. I was just making sure, man.
I hope they all have fun.
I don't want them to get under your skin.
I just hope everyone has a good time on Saturday. That's what, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So yeah, it'll be fun though. Come see us out there at Social Taco today from 10 until 2 as we have a little fun and get in the Iron Bowl spirit. So we'll get to some of our keys to victory for the matchup coming up here in about 10 minutes or so. Kind of break down the Alabama and Auburn side of things. We normally do that for you on Wednesdays, but since we're not going to be here on Thursday, we'll shake some things up for you with the schedule this week. But how about this? Here's another fun Iron Bowl stat for you. We're just going to throw these out. And this one was texted in by Bammer Abroad over there across the pond in London. And this is a great stat if you haven't seen it before. So this is the 7th straight Iron Bowl that we're going to have a different head coaching matchup. So if you go back, 2019, you had Nick Saban versus Gus. In 2020, you had Sarkisian versus Gus because Saban had COVID,
yep.
and so he was unable to coach in that game. Then in 2021, you had Nick Saban versus Brian Harsin.
Oh, boy.
22 was Nick Saban and Cadillac.
Oh, boy.
23 was Nick Saban and Hugh Freeze.
Uh-huh.
Last year was DeBoer and Freeze, and this year is DeBoer and Durkin.
I tell you.
So 7 straight years with a unique head coaching matchup. I don't know if we'll ever see that one again.
I hope not. I hope this one can.
I hope not either, but yeah.
Well, obviously, I say obviously, but I'm 99% sure it's going to change.
Oh, it'll be different next year.
Yeah, it'll be different.
Maybe there's 2 different ones next year. I'm just kidding.
Cut it out.
I'm kidding.
The old Summerall versus DeBoer. So it'll be 8 straight next year.
There's going to be so many Daniel Moore paintings from that rivalry over the years as they both have 20-year tenures and win multiple national championships for both Alabama and Auburn. Wouldn't that be something? So yeah, appreciate you texting in this morning, Bammer Abroad. That was a good stat there. Appreciate you chiming in on the Iron Bowl fun. And you can do so as well, 205-834-9450. Get you on the courtesy GMC text line there as we will get to more of your texts throughout the show today. But before we can look ahead, let's look back quickly at last night because okay, maybe it wasn't the greatest night of sports, at least on the football front, but you had variety, right? You had NFL, you had college basketball, you had options. So we'll start with Monday Night Football. 49ers take down the Panthers 20-9. Pretty gross game in terms of quarterback play overall. You had a combined 5 interceptions. Brock Purdy had 3.
In
Bryce
the first
Young
half.
had 2. Yeah.
In the first half.
In the first half. And Bryce Young had 2. I mean, some of the interceptions, like the one that Bryce threw in the back. So Brock Purdy throws an interception. Panthers are set up in the red zone, basically. And then Bryce Young throws an interception from like the 2-yard. I mean, he threw it into double coverage in the back of an end zone. And
he was set up for failure, too, because they did a rollout to the short side of the field while the ball was on the right hash.
Yep.
So he
didn't have a lot of room to.
Right. Yeah. And he's just trying to make a play. And Bryce Young. And I made this comment it may have been last year. I said, man, it's difficult to watch because we know the talent that he is. But I think his NFL career is very, very similar to when Marcus Mariota was in Tennessee. Barring the injuries. They don't put anything around him. His offensive line is not good. No. Now, Rico Dowdle is doing a great job of kind of supplementing the run game. But Ted McMillan, yes, he's a rookie, but I do think he's on the trajectory. Xavier Legette is starting to go down. Like, he has nothing to work with offensively. And they're asking him to do everything, but that's also kind of the the yin and yang of being the number 1 overall pick. It's you're talented enough to get us over these humps. But man, when you look at the NFC South and you go back even to last game where Bryce, I mean, it's so hot or cold. There's just no in between. It's either he is absolutely lighting you up or he looks absolutely terrible. And I think it's not necessarily his fault. It's the organization as a whole, man. He can't do it all by himself. You have got to get this brother some help because, of course, like I think he's the greatest Alabama quarterback that I've seen. But in the NFL, if you don't put anything around these guys, like I understand they're all professionals, but man, can you at least help the brother out so he can at least start trending like he's going to be an okay quarterback?
Yeah, it's been really, really rough for him. I mean, if you just go and look at so obviously the last game he played last week was by far the best game of his career. He had 448 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. He was fantastic in that game. He also had a pretty good game earlier in the year against Arizona. They lost, but he had 328 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, did have an interception that game. But those 2 games, like you look and you see, okay, like you could work with that. Those are the only 2 games this year he's thrown for more than 200 yards.
Right.
I mean, 121, 150, 138, 102, 124. It hasn't been pretty.
It hasn't.
And to your point, right, a lot of it is, he just doesn't have – he's just not on a great team. But at the same time,
it's kind of what happens when you're number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, you end up in a rough spot, and unfortunately for him, it hasn't come together yet. So – the good news is, they're 6-6, right? They're respectable. Like they're in the playoff hunt. They're still alive. They've gotten better. It's been rough sledding for him. But rough sledding for Brock Purdy last night as well. Good night for J.C. Horn though. He had 2 picks. Shout out the former South Carolina Gamecock. He's now tied for the league lead in interceptions this year. So San Francisco, they're now 8-4. They get the 11-point win over the Panthers, and they are in good spot right now as terms of the playoff hunt there in the NFC. Let's get to some college basketball, though, quickly. I know everyone's favorite part of the show at this point of the year, but we will get through it quickly. You have 2 more games coming up tonight, Alabama and Auburn. They're both playing again tonight, and you're going to have to take a nap if you want to watch the Alabama game tonight. I'll just tell you right now. But quickly, last night, Auburn, they get a big win, 84-73 over the Oregon Ducks, and this was look, if you're Auburn, I think you got to give credit to the defense because you forced a ton of turnovers, 18 turnovers by Oregon. You only turned the ball over 6 times yourself. That was obviously a big factor in the game there for Auburn. You also shot really, really well, 83% from the free throw line. And I think what made most people happy was Tahad Pettiford had his best game of the year by far, as he had 24 points to go along with 4 rebounds, 4 assists last night for the Tigers. So really nice to see him get going and lead the charge for Auburn. Good to get Keyshawn Hall back after he had hurt his ankle. He had 18 points last night and 6 rebounds. Didn't look like he was being too bothered by the injury. And so, again, a really impressive win for Auburn over an Oregon team that was undefeated coming in. And they did a good job forcing the turnovers, able to overcome. Only shot 22% from three-point range last night for Auburn, and they're able to overcome that and still get a double-digit win. So good for Auburn. And tonight, though, going to be a little more difficult as they're going to take on a top 10 Michigan team that was victorious last night. So we'll see a lot. Get to see Yaxel Lindeborg.
Yeah.
As he, the former UAB stars, he'll be taking the court for Michigan tonight. So that's going to be a good game coming up there. That's at 7:30 on TNT. But Oregon actually won this tournament last year. So cool for Auburn to
knock off the champs.
Get a chance to knock off the defending champs, and a big one coming up for them tonight. On the other hand, you had Alabama. Did you stay up for this one, Damian?
I caught a good bit of it.
I imagine a lot of people probably, at a certain point, you kind of wave the white flag and when it's time for me to go. So this was a great basketball game until the final few minutes, and Alabama just absolutely ran out of gas. So Gonzaga, they win 95-85. You look at Alabama, man, LeBaron Philon continues to be fantastic, but at times maybe trying to do too much for Alabama. But he had 29 points last night, 3 of 6 from deep, 11 of 18 from the floor, 7 assists to go along with it, which was nice. Didn't have any rebounds, though. And you heard Nate Oates after the game, it's great that he can score, but
Need you attack. Need
Be
you.
cool for him to get a rebound every now and then, or help his teammates score a little more often. And he wasn't holding back, and I think that was fair, right? Because you could see late in the game. Yes, I understand the element of, all right, I'm kind of the only thing that's working right now, so I'm going to take the shots, and I get it. You're the best player on the team. But there were times where he was clearly getting frustrated and forcing things that you don't need to force, and
Yep.
that is kind of part of where things started to go a little sideways for Alabama. But it doesn't help when Aiden Holloway is 4 of 15 from the floor, 2 of 10 from the 3-point line. He only had 13 points last night, so
Yeah.
that doesn't help. You shoot 61% from the free throw line.
That doesn't help.
31% from 3. Yeah,
you left a lot of change. And again, if you didn't watch the game, if you just look at the numbers, you would think that Gonzaga kind of just ran away with it. It was competitive literally to about 4 minutes left in the ball game. And that's when you start to see a little bit more separation because, to your point, LeBaron Feinlein, it just felt like he was pressing because nobody else is making a shot, and your shot hasn't – you went cold there for a second, and that's kind of the turning point of the game where it's Gonzaga didn't really have an answer for you. Everybody else, it was – man, like he had 7 assists, but he probably could have had anywhere between 10 to 13 if the other guys would have made their shots.
Well, and he had 6 turnovers. Like that's I mean, Alabama had 13 as a team. He had 6 by himself, and
one was just bad. Like he was just crossing half court, and I mean, you look over to Nate Oates, he's just like, what are we doing?
It came at bad times, and I mean it. And look, I mean, it was one of those games where Gonzaga kind of went on a run there midway through the second half. Then Alabama came back, and you thought, oh, wow, Gonzaga looks tired. Like, Alabama's about to really separate themselves, and the opposite of that happened is Gonzaga found their second wind, and Alabama was the team that was gassed there. So a loss for the Tide. They're now 3-2 on the season. Their losses to Purdue and Gonzaga. So, again, I know it's 3-2. Some people are going to see that and go, that's not very pretty, but they're just fine. This is their 4th straight ranked opponent that they played to start the season.
They're battle tested.
Yeah,
they're battle tested.
This is the Nate Oates special, man. This is what he likes to do. So no surprise there for Alabama. They will take on UNLV tonight, but here's the kicker: that game's going to tip at 10:59 p.m.
Oh yeah,
on True TV. So we'll see if I can. I'm going to try, but no promises that we make it through that entire game. We got to be up here pretty early to have fun here on the show. But that's your basketball update from last night. 2 more great games coming up tonight for Alabama and Auburn. UAB, they also get a win yesterday playing in the middle of the day, so shout out to the Blazers getting the job done. But let's talk some more Iron Bowl now. It's Iron Bowl week. How do we see this game breaking down? What are the advantages for Alabama going in? What are the advantages for Auburn going in? We break all of that down for you as Iron Bowl week continues here on JOX. 6:34 here on your Tuesday morning. Appreciate you making us a part of your day each and every morning right here on JOX. As myself, Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell, we are here with you to get you ready for the big game coming up on Saturday. And again, it's a fun week. A lot of people, taking, well, I like to say it's in good sport. I know for some of you it's not. You actually mean these things. But, we have some fun with your Alabama and Auburn brethren, right? That's what it's all about. Like Don, who chimes in on the courtesy GMC text line, he says, my Auburn Iron Bowl week got off to a great start last night with Pettiford having his best game of the year. Good ball game and Auburn's best win of the year so far. And by the way, it was even better with the Bammers losing WDE. See, even basketball is getting involved in the Iron Bowl. It'll be IBOB time before we know it, right?
You know it. But in the
Can't wait.
IBOB, you play twice.
That's right.
And then the football edition, you get one time. You get one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted to capture. My fault.
Yeah, thank you. That
My fault.
No, I know. I know where you were going there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's get into how both Alabama and Auburn can seize this one opportunity. How can they be victorious on the field on Saturday? Obviously, for Auburn, a victory would mean you are going to a bowl game, and you also crush the dreams of your bitter rival for the 2025 football season. And for Alabama, it is all on the line. Your opportunity to play for an SEC championship, guaranteed if you win. Playing for a college football playoff, likely, not guaranteed, but likely if you win as well. So a lot on the line there for both sides. Let's start with the Auburn side of things, though. What does Auburn need to do? Where does Auburn have the advantages going into this matchup against Alabama? And I think one thing for me, and, this kind of goes across who it is, because we know Ashton Daniels is going to be the starter, but we expect Deuce Knight to be in there. Who knows? Maybe Jackson Arnold even gets thrown in the mix at some point. It feels like this is a game, though. I feel like the quarterback run game is going to have to be a strength for Auburn. And I'm not saying that they're going to have Deuce Knight going out there and ripping off 75-yard touchdowns like he did against Mercer, though you'd obviously take that. But I do think that's something that's going to really have to be a factor, because you look at, Alabama's run defense has gotten better. And, I think they did a good job against John Mateer, for example, a couple of weeks ago. But there's still opportunities. You go back and look, Pavia had some success running the football. Lenore Sellers had a lot of success running the football against Alabama. If you're going to pull the upset, that feels like it's going to have to be a major factor. And that combined with what you have with Cobb and some of those guys in the backfield, you're going to need to have a good day running the football. And my kind of number for Auburn, right, is if you're looking up at the end of the game and Auburn is near or eclipsing 200 yards on the ground, you probably have set yourself up nicely to be in contention and potentially win that game on Saturday. I also think on the offensive side for Auburn, and again, you could say this every week, but you got to keep feeding the ball to Cam Coleman, because Alabama hasn't again, not saying that they don't have DBs that can, give him a challenge, but he's the best receiver they will have seen all season long. And can you find a matchup there that you can take advantage of if you're Auburn? Or especially, right, like, last week when you get in the red zone, right? Like, is that the guy that you can identify and you can find ways to get him open and get him the ball in the end zone? I think that's a big factor for them. I think also for Auburn, right, can you be the more disciplined team in this game, right? Can you not let those penalties that killed you early in the season hit you and hit you at inopportune times? Because that was kind of the problem for them a lot, right? It was just bad timing for the penalties early on in the season. And you're at home, right? So you would think that would be something that would be a little bit easier for you. And then can you force multiple turnovers? Because that's what we've seen for Alabama, right? Is they've had 7 straight games now with a turnover, and when they get into the multiple turnover category, last week, that's different, but that's where it's really difficult for them, even if they're playing well, like the Oklahoma game. They were playing lights out offensively, but they had 3 turnovers, and that completely derailed the game for them. So if you're Auburn, can you force not 1 turnover, but 2 or 3 turnovers? And if you do that right there is the single biggest thing in this game for me, right? If you're Alabama and they don't turn the ball over, probably going to win the game. And if they do turn the ball over, especially multiple times, they're probably not going to win the game. So I think that's a big thing for Auburn there. How do you see it for the Tigers, Damian? Would you add anything to that? Do you disagree with any of that? Where do you see this, the advantages kind of for Auburn going in?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think for Auburn, it is of the utmost importance to get your playmakers the ball in space. this it's going to be a battle of the trenches because I think Auburn's offensive line is the problem. Because if you can't keep Ashton Daniels upright, everything else as far as the operation just does not work. Alabama's defensive line, pretty good. So the pressure up front is going to be high because now if you're Kane Womack, you can be a little exotic. You can bring some things that Auburn's offensive line hasn't necessarily seen because your defensive line in the battle of the trenches, you have the advantage. Like the Alabama's defensive front is better than Auburn's offensive line. So for Auburn, it's got to be quick. It's, hey, Eric Singleton, speed sweep. Boom, got you one way. Make this defense chase you side to side because the playmakers that you have, that's a lot of speed out there. And to your point, Cam Coleman, what we've seen the past couple games, it has been imperative that they give him the ball. Alabama secondary has got to know where number 8 is at all times. But you also got to take into account where 4 is, where 8 is, where 1 is. You also have I would say the change of pace and the X factor is Jeremiah Cobb because last week was a little bit of an anomaly. Didn't really ask him to do too much, and even when he did, it wasn't as effective as we have been, as we were so used to him seeing. But he can be a home run hitter. So right when Ashton is starting to get into a groove, you start to, your secondary starting to keep their eyes open. They're playing a little bit back. They're focused on what's going on in wideouts. And then, boom, Jeremiah Cobb hits you for, a 4-yard gain here in the first quarter that turns into a 9-yard gain in the third. And then in the fourth, it ends up being a 21-yard gain. So I think the chess match with the pace that Auburn is starting to play with now offensively and the tempo, that's going to keep Alabama's defense on their heels. That's the biggest thing. And I think offensively for Alabama, it's very similar. You have playmakers all around Ty Simpson. And what's Auburn's biggest question mark is secondary. So the best thing that Auburn has going for them is their front seven. Xavier Atkins is playing out of his mind. And what we've seen from Keiron Crawford and Keldrick Falk on that defensive line, Alabama's offensive line is going to have to accept the challenge. Like, it is right there in front of you. If you can get somewhat of a push, not saying that this run game has to go for 100, but they have to be effective between the tackles. But I do think the key point for Ty Simpson is keeping him upright, keeping the ball out of harm's way, because you're going to have your chances. And now it's who's got the better dudes out wide. Can Auburn's secondary stand up to what Alabama's receivers room is going to look like, and vice versa? Can Alabama's secondary stand up to what Auburn's wide receiver room is going to be? Like, for me, this is my kind of game because you can play physical, you can, but it doesn't necessarily lean one way or other. It's going to be a wideouts game. Who is going to put their stamp in Iron Bowl history as the takeover guy? Is it going to be Cam Coleman? Is it going to be Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Eric Singleton, Malcolm Simmons? Who's going to make those plays when their numbers is called and the quarterback's got to let it rip?
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say that, the single most important person in this game in terms of if this person has a good day or a bad day, that'll probably determine the outcome of the game. I think a lot of people would agree it's Ty Simpson, right? Because we've seen look, let's be honest. If you get the Ty Simpson that you've seen for the last 3 games, really, of Alabama, gonna be questionable. I think it's gonna be tough to win this game on Saturday. But if you get the version of Ty that you got when you knocked off Georgia and Tennessee and Vanderbilt and Missouri back to back, gonna feel really good about the spot you're in, right? So I think that's a big part of it for me this week is where is Ty Simpson mentally? Has he gotten a little bit of that edge back? Or is it just a situation where we've gotten to this point of the season and whether it's, maybe some uncertainty on the offensive line or, he's seen too many drop passes and he's losing some confidence in the whatever it is, he just hasn't been on point the same way. He's going to need to be on Saturday because otherwise it's going to be really, really difficult for Alabama to win this football game because like you're saying, again, I don't think that because you saw, they ran for 270 yards against Eastern Illinois. I'll be honest, I don't think they run for over 100 yards against Auburn. But can you be like Oklahoma? Can you run for 85 yards and, those come at opportune times or maybe late in the game if you have a lead, you can run for a couple first downs to run the clock out and hold on to a close victory, whatever it may be. So that's all going to be a big factor. You mentioned the offensive line. That's going to be huge for Alabama. Auburn top 10 in the country in sacks. So they've been really, really good at that all season long. And my question for Alabama, right, is this feels like a game where, maybe you don't need it, but if you do, can you get, and it can come in a variety of ways. Can you get a big play on special teams? Can you, because that has been an Achilles heel for Alabama at times this year. So whether that's, Talty makes a 45-yard field goal that nobody thinks he can make, or, Latsier Brooks has a punt return that puts Alabama, inside the 25 and sets them up, for an easy touchdown, or maybe you block a punt, on defense, something like that. Is there a big play that can be made in special teams? Because that feels like one of those areas where Auburn could really have a massive advantage in this game. And, you just wonder, is it going to come down to that kind of a situation where you just needs somebody has to step up and make a play for Alabama? And that's been an issue for them. And those are the kinds of things that come up in big games, right? Where your deficiencies are on the biggest stage and it's time to step up and make a play or not. And maybe your season's over at that point. So a lot to look forward to this weekend. I just wanted to do kind of a quick overview of what we thought, some quick takeaways on the matchup and where we see some of the advantages for both Alabama and Auburn. But we want to continue to hear from you as well on the Courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. Your questions, your thoughts ahead of a exciting Iron Bowl coming up on Saturday. So much on the line for both of these teams. We'll get your response, your reaction next here on the Tuesday edition of Morning JOX. Welcome back into Morning Jocks here on your Tuesday morning, a rainy Tuesday. Looks like it's going to be that way for most of the day here, at least in the Birmingham metropolitan area. So just stay weather aware out there and be safe and enjoy the holiday week as Thanksgiving just a couple of days away. So we will be here tomorrow. We will be off on Thursday, but then we will be back on Friday for an epic pre-Iron Bowl day of radio here on JOX. We'll be with you from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. when Paul goes off. So going to be an exciting week ahead. But let's wrap things up today with your text on the Courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. Like Mike, who chimes in, and he says, if Jam Miller gets the majority of the carries, we may lose. Daniel Hill needs to be fed. Roll Tide.
What?
I will say this. I think, now granted, he looked better against Eastern Illinois, but I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock in that. I wouldn't be upset if you saw a little more of Daniel Hill. And the reason that, and I understand people's frustration with Jam, and because it is frustrating, right? Because we've been told the reason that he's out there is because of what he can do in pass protection. And when he is on in that regard, he is a valuable asset to have. It is also fair to say that you go back to the Oklahoma game and he was pretty terrible in that regard. And Daniel Hill, he's just shown the ability to, like, he'll drag a guy 2 yards, 3 yards, and the other guys just won't really do that. So I wouldn't be upset to see Daniel Hill. I also wouldn't be upset to see a little more AK Deer, but I know, again, the problem with AK Deer is when he's out there, you kind of know that they're going to run the football and you don't trust him in pass protection, so it kind of limits what you're able to do there in the passing game. This text comes in and says, let's see. He says, running back, defense, and wide receiver are all Auburn's advantages in the game. He says, LOL, there's no comparison between Alabama and Auburn's wide receiver rooms. He's saying Auburn's is way better. And then he also says, Jeremy Bernard was talking about a blowout in Jordan Hare yesterday. That's not going to help the Gumps cause.
How is it not?
See, okay, and I saw a lot of people like, oh, here we go with – it's the Iron Bowl. Do you think that anything that these guys – again, like – I don't think they need extra motivation for this.
Right.
If you need extra motivation for this game, you shouldn't be playing in this game. Like,
Right.
kind of, it is what it is. Like,
And also the whole wide receiver thing. I think people are like getting confused with talent and production. I mean, you can say Auburn's more talented, but look at who's throwing them the football. Like, I mean, I think they're excellent route runners. I think they're dynamic. But you look across at Alabama's receivers, they do it's like they're mirrors. Like it's an exact carbon copy of exactly what it's supposed to look like.
I would say that Cam's the best out of any of them, but
production.
Yeah, Alabama's have been more productive, but
right.
You know, I know people. Well, it's because of the quarterback, and fair, but okay, that's
Cam Coleman has 6 more yards than Jeremy Bernard. 6. What's the difference? What do you mean there's no comparison in receiver room? Like, it's an exact comparison.
No comparison, Damian.
No.
It's laughable that you would even say that.
And hell, you didn't even know your receivers were on the field until Vanderbilt. So up until that point, you were averaging what, less than 200 yards passing?
Yeah, it wasn't.
So I mean, yeah, your receivers were frustrated. So yeah, I'm glad that you're gung ho about us now when you need us. But where were they the first 8 games of the season?
Oh, Damian took that personal. That was just that you had flashbacks to.
It is frustrating, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're at the mercy of the quarterback. But
Spoken like a true receiver.
When Jackson Arnold won't let it rip, we stink. Again, let's not forget you only scored 3 points against Kentucky.
That is true. Let's see. This says Auburn's gonna need to stop the short inside slant passes because that really kills them. Yeah, Ty Simpson's great across the middle of the field. That's kind of been his forte this year a lot of the time. Let's see. This says, if DeBoer and company choke Saturday, Greg Byrne better be introducing Lane Kiffin as the new head coach before lunch on Sunday. Don't think that's going to happen. Let's see. Somebody texted and said, thank you for the Bo Nix basketball game breakdown.
The Bo Nix Bowl.
Auburn and Oregon. I appreciate that. You're welcome. It'll be another great night of college basketball going on tonight. But the Iron Bowl just days away. We're getting ever so close. We're back tomorrow at 6 a.m. We'll talk more about it. Mac and Cube, they're up next.